Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. So as you can see from the title, in today's video, I'm going to be showing you guys how I conceal all types of breakouts while still making sure the skin looks luminous and healthy and not too cakey, and that's really the trick. As you guys know, sometimes your skin can be poppin', but sometimes it be like this. So we're gonna take it from this to this. First of all, it's important that you guys know that everybody has breakouts. It's a natural part of being human, right? We have pores, we break out, and it's normal, and I know it sucks, trust me. Even I get really insecure and down about it. There's really not much we can do about it, but we can try to conceal and cover it up. I have been testing things, how they look in photos, iPhone photos, flash photography, video, in real life, seeing what works, what doesn't work, and I have found, I think, the perfect combination. It's funny actually because Katie and I will send photos of our breakouts, and that's just something we do. We do that, and she will see me in person and be like, I swear you're like a ninja at covering breakouts. It kind of gave me the idea to do this video for you guys and show you exactly what I do. And it was also really requested when I did a snap video where I had a full face of makeup and then I took it off and I showed you guys that underneath I was really breaking out. So yeah, let's go ahead and get into it. It happens. Right now, I have, as you can see, some breakouts, and I kind of had some extractions as well. That's why this one's a little scabbed. Everything's kind of healing, but it's still very red, and there is still some texture going on. This is the BELIF Aqua Bomb, and the reason I'm using this one is because sometimes my skin gets very dry, and I need a cream to dilute the tea tree oil that I'm also gonna spot treat my breakouts with, just so that they're healing and I seal them before I put makeup on. Using the Aqua Bomb, get yourself a nice smooth hydrated layer. Next, I'm taking the Body Shop tea tree oil. Obviously my hands are clean, I just washed them. I'm gonna pat this on to all the breakouts. So one over here. So then you just kind of want to let it sit and dry up before you put any makeup on. Because I am Latina, I do tend to get dark spots where I break out. I've been using the WATERBRIGHT Dark Spot Corrector. I've also used a SkinCeuticals one in the past that worked really well for me too. I ran out of that one, so I'm trying this one out. I use this at night before I go to bed, so that's just like a little thing that I do to make sure that I don't have any dark spots for too long or that they go away faster. Now it's time for foundation to really cover everything up. When it comes to foundation when you're breaking out, I know, especially me, sometimes I tend to feel insecure about my breakouts, and then out of nowhere I just start piling on a lot of makeup, and then by the time I'm done, I look in the mirror and I'm like, whoa, my skin looks cakey, I went too far. And sometimes it's hard for me to control it. Like I'll just keep packing on the most full coverage foundation, and through trial and error, I've found that that actually makes my skin look worse. So what I do now, I like to sheer down my foundation and give myself an all-over application that I would if I wasn't breaking out. I have my Armani Luminous Silk Foundation here, number 7. I like to dilute it with MAC Strobe Cream. I love this stuff. This is in the shade GOLDLITE. This is just gonna make it not as full coverage, and it's gonna give my skin that luminosity. There we go. Ooh. Mix it all together. So you still want your skin to look luminous and healthy, and we're just gonna focus on really full coverage where you have the breakouts. Since I still have some on my brush, this little brush that I used to mix it, I'm just gonna start applying it. I just tanned, so I don't know if this is gonna match me, but this is usually my color. This is the brush I love to use, the Morphe G40. I'm gonna use this to apply the foundation all over the skin now that we took all the product off the brush I used to mix. And I'm gonna start kind of patting it all over. Uh-oh, my track's showing. Now that I have a nice even layer, somewhat, I'm gonna start pressing that in with my Beauty Blender. Pounce. So as I start blending in the foundation to a nice thin layer, you can really see that the breakouts start to shine through, but that's okay because we're gonna focus on those later. So just make sure your overall skin is evened out. Don't even think about the breakouts yet. Now I have a nice light layer of foundation, not full coverage, it's sheared down. So at this point, I go back in with a little bit more of the mixture on my Beauty Blender, and I'll focus very lightly, like do the lightest little pounces around your breakout areas and just find your chi, you know what I mean? Just like, when I push the foundation onto my skin, I put it on the areas that need the most coverage, and then I'll make sure to really blend the edges and everything around the point where I started with the foundation, really shearing out the edges. All right, Foundation done. By only applying more foundation where you need it and then blending out those edges, it gives you a nice, good base, dewy, still very luminous, but you're really focusing on your problem areas that you have. And so far, I feel like it's pretty good. So now we want to spot conceal all those breakouts, because even if your foundation does do a good job at covering, throughout the day our foundation tends to wear down, right? And then things start seeping through. If you have any redness, breakouts, things like that start to kind of come out. So we want to make sure to really target those areas. I'm going to use a hydrating concealer because my breakouts, like I said, tend to be dry, a little bit crusty, I guess, and I want to keep everything really hydrated and luminous. So I'm going to use the Becca Aqua Luminous Concealer. This is in the shade Tan. Still even a little lighter than what I need, but that's okay. I'm just kind of adjusting, but this is okay because we'll cover it. So just hitting all these spots, boom. Just doing little dots over them. And then I'm gonna take the Morphe G40 brush again, and what I'm gonna do is just lightly tap over a couple of times. You wanna tap over the breakout, and then you wanna take the brush and feather out the edges without tapping on the breakout again, right? So you wanna blend the edges into your foundation. If you need to switch to a smaller brush to do this, make sure it's a nice soft brush, but just do tapping motions around the breakout. Try not to touch the breakout again because you want that full coverage to stay over that red area. And then moving on to this breakout, I'm gonna use the Morphe brush first because it's very soft. And remember, this was a massive scab too. By keeping it all luminous and hydrating, it's gonna just make it look better actually than when we started. Okay, boom. Take a little bit of the foundation on the brush, just the tiniest amount, kind of make everything seamless around those edges. I'm barely tapping over any of this. Do the same up here. Sometimes I'll go back in one more time if I see that it's still showing through a little bit, and just do the same technique. Lightly press around the area. So now what we have is a nice light layer foundation, which I diluted with a light reflecting product. So when I'm in the sunlight, which I've tested before, everything's gonna look really dewy and fresh, and it's gonna look pretty. And only the parts where I have breakouts is where there's a little bit more coverage, but it's not going to be as noticeable, and it's gonna look better than an all over really heavy coverage. What I'm gonna do next, I'm gonna just finish off my under eyes with some concealer since I didn't put any there. This is medium Becca, same concealer, just using a little bit of a lighter color here. I've been wearing a lot less concealer and product on my under eye lately. I just find it to photograph so much nicer, but obviously we need to powder certain areas that tend to get oily. So I've just been kind of sticking to powdering those areas and leaving the rest of my skin alone with just the liquid or cream product. Boom. Boom. I'm gonna go ahead and use the tiniest amount of powder, and this is my favorite powder to set my makeup just because it's so almost untraceable, right? So usually when I put a powder on, it's like very, you could see it. This almost like melts into the skin and just reduces the shine. You can keep applying it throughout the day and it's not gonna look cakey. My nose gets really oily. I have to keep touching up my nose and it doesn't like build up around that area. It's just really nice. This is the e.l.f. blush brush. I love this brush. You can put a little under the eye, but I don't even set my under eyes anymore that much just because this concealer that I use, when I use a very light amount, it doesn't need to be set. And what's good is that if I do tend to crease a little bit more, I just tap under my eye with my finger and it like blends beautifully throughout the day. So I'm just gonna put the tiniest amount here. And then also I'm gonna press this into the breakout areas that I put concealer on, right on the forehead and also right here. Seal them in. This is Charlotte Tilbury Airbrush Finish Flawless Skin Perfecting Micro Powder. Ooh, that was a long name. This is the shade 02. So here is another issue when breaking out. Sometimes we have those breakouts that are cystic and they're really big and bumpy, right? Like sometimes you have this lump and you can't really hide texture, right? If you have a pimple that's sticking out, you can cover the redness and everything, but it may still look like it's sticking out. So when I have those bumpier breakouts, I take the MAC Studio Fix Powder Foundation. This stuff is really full coverage. It's gonna cover a lot. I don't wanna put this all over my face though, because it's gonna look too full coverage and take away the luminous look that we're trying to go for, that healthy skin look. Katie always tells me I'm like a ninja at covering big breakouts, and I pride myself in that. I always feel like it's like a mission that I accomplished. So when it comes to these foundations, you have to find the perfect color. If it's too light, it's gonna show. If it's too dark, it's gonna show. So I sometimes mix colors just to make sure that it's vibing with my skin tone. First I'm gonna do is take a fluffy brush. This one is Sedona Lace EB13. I'm gonna dip it into the Studio Fix Powder Foundation. This is NC43. And I'm also going to blend that with a little bit of NC40 just to get the right tones. I dip back and forth into the two, and I'm going to push around the breakout. So if you have something sticking out, you want to start packing this on it and then mostly around the breakout. I feel like when I build the powder foundation around it and I'm tapping it super light, it almost gives it the appearance of being very smooth because I'm creating a blended layer of product around the breakout. That's my theory. And always make sure you're blending out the edges, because in the sunlight, you may go outside and see that you have splotches of powder foundation. So anytime you apply something to the breakout, really feather out the edges. I swear you guys, this is like the best trick. See, the darkness I had is already kind of gone. These ones are more flat, but they just have pigmentation, so I'm just pushing this lightly on top of those breakouts, and then of course blending out all the edges. So now we have just coverage. Like I said, everything's still lightweight for the most part, and you just really focused on the breakouts, wherever they may be. Now, I like to focus on the rest of the skin looking extra glowy and healthy. That way, when people look at your face, they're like, wow, her highlight, or she's glowing, right? You want to attract their eye to something else, and that's where my glow comes in. I'm gonna be mixing the Marc Jacobs Do You drops and a little bit of the iconic London drops. These is shade Original, and this is the Do You color 50. I'm just gonna mix those two on my Petri dish, just one pump of each, and I'm gonna take that down the bridge of my nose, boom, tip of my nose to lift it a little bit on the Cupid's bow, and I love the chin glow. Some people don't like that. I love it. Let's first blend this out before we move on. Take the other side of the Beauty Blender that you didn't apply the product with and press that lightly into the skin. You don't want to move any foundation around, so make sure you're pressing lightly. We want it to all stay on. Already, the highlight on the nose just makes the skin look really healthy, and that's really what you're going to focus on. If you have breakouts in any of the areas that you usually highlight in, don't apply highlighter over the breakout. It's very, very important, because that's just going to make them stand out. Like I had a breakout on my chin here, and so I applied highlighter like not on top of the breakout. I had to either not apply it or only apply it very targeted right above. Okay, so see this breakout? It's not right on the highlight line, but I don't want to put any highlight over it at all. So I'm gonna be very careful and kind of place it in a C shape and just miss it. And then take the other side and blend that all in. And if you happen to get highlight on it, you can always apply a little bit of powder over to cover it up, but try not to. And then I'm also gonna apply a little bit right above the brow here, all the high points of your face, and just blend that in again. So that's it for the cream highlight. And then again, just in case I may have kind of got a little something here, I'm gonna go in with the Charlotte Tilbury powder to mattify that down. I don't need any coverage, so I'm not gonna use the MAC powder again. Now that I've applied the highlight, I feel like I'm drawing people's eye towards areas that I'm not breaking out. Now to seal all of that in, you don't have to do this. Of course, I always like to add a lot of glow, so I'm gonna use the Bronze Goddess HEATWAVE by Estee Lauder and just lightly go over that. A trick is, like, if you find that you have larger pores in this area and you don't want to accentuate them, just keep it right here on the very, very top of your cheekbone, just very, very lightly, and try not to bring it down to the area where you have more pores if that is something that you struggle with. Even though other people may bring it down here in other videos or show you to like take it whichever way, just do it whatever way works best for you. And a light layer at the top, I'm using a Sephora fan brush, and then I'm also going to highlight the bridge of the nose too, just the tip here, just boom, look at that. So now everything people are gonna focus on is the highlight, okay? Highlight. They're just gonna see your face and be like, boom, 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 mírala, mírala. So I'm gonna finish up the face, the skin, as my brother says I say it, skin, to really tie everything together. This is very important too. So I'm taking my HOOLA bronzer by Benefit and a MAC 116 brush, especially because I am breaking out in this area. I don't want to like rub a lot because I don't want any of my hard work to go away. Push it into the skin here and do little tapping motions. Also, to mention really quickly, You can use a primer. I know I did not use one. Whatever your skin type is, like if you have redness, you might want to use a redness reducing primer. If you have larger pores, the Tarte primer is really good, the pore perfecting one. Whatever suits your skin type. If you feel flaky and dry, use a hydrating primer. The Makeup Forever one is one of my favorites too. So always prime for your skin. Of course, I use my hydration balm as a primer. I'm gonna be using MAC Peaches as my blush, patting lightly and a little bit over the nose. And I feel like it gives you that summer healthy look when you get a little sunburned and you look super sun-kissed. I'm going to set the skin and I'm using the Hydra Enhancer. This is by ELCIE Cosmetics. What's nice about this is it has jasmine in it and it also helps calm the skin. For example, if you had a sunburn or anything like that, so if your skin is irritated, it's gonna help calm the skin and also set your makeup. You could apply this before and after, especially focusing on the parts where I put all the powder with the Studio Fix because I want it to not look powdery. And you guys all know my last and favorite trick, which is turning larger bumps or breakouts into beauty marks. I use a really fine liner brush and the ROTT by Milk Cosmetics. I think it's a nice dark brown to use. I'm gonna try to focus on the very point, the highest point of the breakout, and lightly press on it. Everything I say is lightly. Light taps, light pounce. It's important so you don't move any product around. When I turn my face, it looked like a bump is now just gonna be a little beauty mark. I can also do it over the little scab that I have here to try to distract from it. My mom has a lot of beauty marks and I think they're so beautiful. My brother has them too. He got them from my mom and I just think they're so old Hollywood and I love them so much. I don't know why, I think they're so pretty when people have like beauty marks or freckles.
Thank you.
You're welcome. And then after you have, given yourself the beauty marks, go back in with a little bit of powder and just press over them. It's gonna make them look more natural because the rest of your face kind of has powder and stuff over it. So if it's just like a dot with no makeup over it, it might look a little more fake. And this blends it also. So I'm just taking a little powder, dusting it over the area. And this is the finished skin look. We have our beauty marks covering the ones that are a little bit more bumpy, but overall, very low coverage on the foundation, a luminous look. People are gonna think, you just have very healthy skin. This varies with every breakout. Some people have more breakouts. Sometimes they're not as bad. You just kind of have to use these little tips and tricks to adapt to how your skin's acting that day. We all have them. It's okay. Everyone gets insecure about them. It's just something that happens in life, right? We can't really do anything about getting the breakouts. These are just the things I do to cover them when they are happening. So as you guys can see, like the glow that I put on because we used creams, it's not gonna look super stripy or chunky or glittery. You wanna stay away from a lot of glitter when you're breaking out, or if you have pores you don't want to show. Here we packed on the powder, but it doesn't look cakey. We made them into beauty marks here and here. And then the forehead, right, those were a little bit more flat, so you didn't have to do a lot. You can barely see them now. You don't really focus on them that much. That's it. That's the whole skin look. That's it. That's what we got going on. Nobody will ever know. I really hope you guys enjoyed all these tips and tricks. This is ultimately what has looked and worked the best for me, so I hope it helps some of you guys out. Let me know on Twitter or in the comments if you try this technique out and it works for you. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye! Why does the trash man always come when I'm trying to live my life? Is what I want to know. In all types of...
That's you, girl.
Alright, so I really hope that you guys... oh my god.